If there's no habitat, there's no species.
No.
The clouded Apollo is one of the most endangered butterflies in Sweden. It's extinct in Denmark and its numbers are declining globally.
Den här är lite större och man ser den också att den flyger på ett speciellt sätt. Det här är någon annan fjäril, rovfjäril eller kolfjäril. Man får liksom, när man har gått här några gånger, får man oftast, man känner igen den ganska snart liksom. Nu ska vi se. Nej.
Martin Elmestål works for the County Administrative Board in Stockholm and is today out counting butterflies.
Känner du igen att den liksom flyger på något speciellt sätt också?
Ja, den flyger lite så.
And he's right. As opposed to many other white butterflies like the similar cabbage butterfly flying around here, the clouded Apollo looks much bigger and glides in flight, making it easier to instantly spot. Martin Elmestål counts the butterflies by walking in different predetermined routes. At this time, one longer route of about an hour and a shorter one. Every time the sun gets covered by clouds, he needs to stop and wait. When the sun pokes through the clouds and the butterflies becomes active again, he continues his route. The location is secret because this rare butterfly is sought after by collectors.
Kan du säga någonting hur det går för dem just nu? Liksom?
Just här så är en stabil population, just här på platsen vi är just nu. Och det har vi varit i några år liksom sådär. Sen just nationellt så är den ju väldigt hotad. Just i Stockholms län har den historiskt funnits på många fler platser längs med kusten då, kan man säga. Från det man känner till är kanske 30-tal olika platser liksom, under 1900-talet som är dokumenterade skriftligt. Och idag finns den bara här, just i vårt län, Stockholms län, som vi känner till.
So how threatened is it?
It is one of the rarest species of butterflies in Sweden, so it's really threatened. There's one population up around near close to Sundsvall, another one in the east coast of Uppland, in Roslagen, and the population down in Blekinge, which is on the brink of extinction.
So what characterizes this butterfly?
How does the clouded Apollo look like? It's a pretty big butterfly for Swedish standards, you could say. It's up to 7 centimeters in wingspan. It's mainly white, but it has some black markings on the forewings. And one striking feature is that it has transparent apical tips to the forewings, so it looks like thin glass at the outer edge of the forewings. The males and females are very similar, but the female has less hair on the abdomen, and it also has a yellow stripe along the body, so you can discriminate between the sexes that way.
It has a close relative, which is more common, the Apollo butterfly, which is sort of a bit more colorful, So this is why this species is called the clouded Apollo, because it looks like a clouded version of the Apollo.
So the habitat requirements of the clouded Apollo are pretty specific, so they prefer this mosaic of small grazed areas, meadows, and that's sheltered by kind of deciduous forests and bushes.
Yes.
So typically a small-scale agricultural country where you have a mix of grazing animals, mowing of meadows, and pretty protected areas.
And also they need, butterflies generally have host plants where they lay their eggs. So where the eggs develop and the larvae develop and they pupate, and then so the butterflies need the host plants.
Butterflies, and in fact many other insects, at least during the larval phase, so the caterpillars, they are parasites on host plants. Meaning that the completion of their life really depends on a host organism. So for butterflies, even though there is variation, it's not like they can eat any plant. It's only specific plants that can be hosts for each species. So that this butterfly-plant interaction is really, really key in the life cycle of butterflies, because the female really has to find an appropriate host to lay the eggs, and then the caterpillars that come out of the eggs, they will eat mainly on the plant that they are, and that if that plant is not good, then they will have to go and try to find a good host. But they don't walk super fast or far, so they are limited. So it's really important that the females find good hosts for their caterpillars. There's a lot of variation in the number of hosts that a species can use. Some species can use a wide variety of plants, so we call them generalists. And some species are very specialist. They need to find a specific plant, and we call them specialists. So then it's extra important that the females find the correct hosts to lay the eggs, so that the offspring survives.
One such specialist is, you guessed it, the clouded Apollo.
So for the clouded Apollo, that's from the genus Corydalis. It's called nunnört in Swedish. That's what they prefer. Different species of that genus. It's a bit dependent on where in the distribution range they are, which type of plant they use, but always within the genus Corydalis. It's a pretty interesting organism by itself. It has a, maybe not say weird, but different life history. So they are pretty short-lived as adults. They live for 4 days approximately, according to estimates from Blekinge. The adults when they fly, so only 4 days on the wing. And the females, when they get mated, they kind of put the eggs one and one on decaying plants, not necessarily the host plant, or they drop the eggs randomly when they fly around. So not like other butterflies where the female seeks out the host plant and put the eggs there, so that the larvae, when they hatch, they are already on the host plant. So that means that when the larvae hatch, they actually winter in the egg, the larva, and then they hatch in spring. And then the larva has to find the host plant itself when it hatches from the egg. So that means in the beginning for the larva, they have to move around a lot to find host plants, and
that might affect their survival.
Yeah, exactly. And also this random egg laying, that they just drop the eggs from the air when they fly around. That's pretty interesting, and that they are so short-lived as adults. So when the larvae are like 3-4 weeks, they are fully grown, and then they find a dry leaf somewhere, and they roll that up and build a pupa inside the leaf. So they are covered both by the leaf and the pupa. And then the pupal phase is around 4 weeks, and then the adults emerge from the pupa then and fly for, on average, around 4 days only. And the females lay their eggs, and then the larvae develop in the eggs over summer and fall, and then they overwinter or hibernate or diapause, as we say, in the egg as developed larvae, and then they hatch in the spring, in April or something like that.
So it's 4 days short for butterflies?
It's very short, I would say. Yeah.
Yes. But they fly for longer periods,
Yeah,
absolutely.
many species do, for sure.
Some species even migrate long distances to Africa.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have the painted lady butterflies in the lab as well, and they can survive for several weeks. I mean, we had females laying eggs for like 5 weeks, and they can migrate 4,000 kilometers or more in a single generation, so they are long-lived on the other hand.
The Zoo Nordens Ark has been commissioned to initiate breeding for the clouded Apollo butterfly for release in collaboration with the counties and other organizations. The work takes place within the Action Program for Threatened Species, initiated by Swedish authorities. In 2025, 840 larvae was released in the wild before restoring some of the areas. Young alder and hazel was cleared on south-facing slopes, and conditions for the butterfly's host plant and nectar sources was improved.
I think it's important to remember that, I mean, no reintroduction can ever be successful unless you have suitable habitat for the species. I mean, a very big part of the work they do is habitat restoration.
If there's no habitat, there's no species.
No.
In the next episode of this series, you'll get to learn more about butterflies in general. And for a deep dive into genetics research, make sure to check out episode 3.